The great hall of the alien palace was filled with golden light, tall pillars rising high like giant trees, and banners of red and black hanging from the ceiling, showing the power of the empire. Alien nobles sat in silence, their strange eyes watching every move, their faces cold and unreadable. In the middle of this hall stood a human, tall and calm, though his heart beat faster than he wanted to show. He was the ambassador of Earth, the first man allowed to speak in the court of the emperor. Many called him brave, others called him foolish, for no human had ever walked so deep into alien territory. Yet here he was, standing proud, trying not to show fear. The emperor sat high on his throne, his robe shining with threads of silver, his skin pale like stone, his voice deep and heavy. When he spoke, the entire hall shook with silence. He did not welcome the human with kind words. He did not offer food or drink, he only raised one hand, and a group of servants carried something forward. It was a box. The box was not large, but it demanded attention. Made of dark gold, its surface carved with symbols that glowed faintly. It seemed alive in some strange way. The servants placed it at the ambassador's feet, bowed low and stepped back quickly, almost too quickly, as if they feared what they carried. The emperor smiled, a smile that did not reach his eyes. "Human," he said, his voice echoing, "accept this gift from me, the ruler of 10,000 worlds. This is my token of respect and my challenge to your kind." The hall whispered. Some nobles leaned closer to each other, their mouths moving fast, their eyes shining with curiosity or fear. The human ambassador looked down at the box, his breath catching. It was warm, almost glowing, and for a moment he thought he felt it move, like something inside shifted. He raised his eyes. "May I ask what is inside?" The emperor's smile widened, but he gave no answer. He only leaned back on his throne, his long fingers tapping the armrest slowly, one by one, like the ticking of a clock. The silence grew heavier. The ambassador glanced at the nobles again. Some turned their faces away, not daring to meet his eyes. A few smirked, enjoying the tension. One old advisor shook his head very slightly, as if warning him not to ask again. The box pulsed faintly, a soft hum filling the air around it. The ambassador's guards, humans trained to remain steady, exchanged nervous looks. One guard whispered, "Sir, it feels alive." The ambassador nodded but said nothing. He bent down slightly, careful not to touch the box. His mind raced. Was this a trap? A weapon? A test? Why would the emperor give such a strange gift in front of the entire court? Finally, he straightened and bowed slightly toward the throne. "I thank you, great emperor. Earth accepts your gift." The emperor's eyes flashed with something sharp, amusement mixed with something darker. "Good," he said softly. "But remember, every gift has a price." The words hung in the air like smoke. The box was lifted once more and carried away, not by servants this time, but by the ambassador's own guards. They walked slowly, carefully, as if they carried fire that might explode at any second. The ambassador followed them out of the great hall, feeling the weight of every alien eye on his back. When they reached the private chambers given to him in the palace, the guards placed the box on a stone table. For a moment, none of them spoke. The hum was louder now, a low vibration that seemed to touch the bones. One guard swallowed hard. "Sir, should we open it?" The ambassador stared at the box. His reflection glimmered faintly on its golden surface, but the symbols burned brighter, shifting as if they changed language when no one was looking. He shook his head. "Not yet, not here. Not while the emperor's spies are listening." He paced the room, his boots clicking against the cold floor. He thought of Earth, of the billions of humans waiting to see if their first contact with the empire would bring peace or destruction. He thought of the emperor's strange smile and the whispers of the court. A gift, yes, but also a challenge. He turned back to the box. For a heartbeat, he was sure it moved again, a faint push from within like a hand pressing against the inside. His breath caught. He leaned closer, and for the first time, he thought he heard something, soft like a sigh, like the breath of someone sleeping. The guards tensed, hands on their weapons. The ambassador whispered to himself, "What have you given me, Emperor?" The box did not answer. It only pulsed again, stronger this time, as if alive, as if waiting. And in the silence of the chamber, the ambassador knew one thing. Whatever was inside would change everything. The palace of the emperor was not only made of stone and gold, it was made of secrets. Behind every tall pillar, behind every silk curtain, voices whispered and eyes watched. Nothing in the palace stayed hidden for long, not even the strange gift given to the human. By the next morning, the story of the golden box had already spread through the court like fire in dry grass. Servants spoke in low voices while carrying trays of food. Guards muttered when changing posts, and nobles whispered behind their jeweled masks. All wondered the same thing. What had the emperor given the human? The ambassador of Earth walked through the long halls with careful steps, pretending not to notice the stares that followed him. He could hear the faint hiss of voices whenever he passed. Words cut short the moment he turned his head. Some looked at him with pity, others with envy, and a few with fear. The box had made him important, but it had also made him dangerous. In his private chamber, the box still sat on the stone table. It pulsed faintly in the dim light, glowing symbols shifting across its surface like living fire. None of his guards dared to go near it. They kept their distance, eyes sharp, hands ready on their weapons as if the box might suddenly explode. The ambassador stood before it for a long time, his thoughts heavy. He had not opened it, not yet. The emperor's smile still haunted him, that strange smile full of secrets. Was this gift a test, a trap, or something far worse? That evening, he was invited to a private dinner by one of the emperor's oldest advisors, a thin alien with skin like cracked marble and eyes that saw too much. The ambassador went, though every step felt like walking deeper into a maze. The advisor's chamber was filled with dim light and the smell of burning spices. The old alien poured dark wine into silver cups but drank none himself. Instead, he leaned forward and spoke softly. "You must be careful, human," he said, his voice rough like stone breaking. "The emperor does not give gifts without reason." The ambassador did not answer at once. He watched the advisor's face, the way the old man's hands trembled slightly as he held his cup. Finally, he said, "What is inside the box?" The advisor's eyes narrowed. He looked around the room as if the walls themselves might be listening. Then he whispered, "Once, long ago, the emperor gave such a gift to another ruler on another world. That world no longer exists, burned, erased." The ambassador's chest tightened. "Why?" The advisor shook his head. "No one knows, or perhaps no one dares to speak the truth. Some say the box is a blessing. Others call it a curse. But all agree on one thing. Once the box is opened, life is never the same again." The ambassador leaned back slowly, his mind racing. He wanted to ask more, but the advisor raised one finger. "No more questions. The walls here have ears." That night, when the ambassador returned to his chambers, the palace was darker than before. Torches flickered low, shadows stretched long. His guards bowed as he entered, their faces pale. "Sir," one of them whispered. "Something happened." The ambassador frowned. "What?" The guard pointed at the box. It no longer pulsed faintly, it glowed. The golden surface shone like fire, the symbols racing faster, brighter, as if alive. The hum was stronger, filling the room like the beat of a giant heart. The ambassador stepped closer, his hand reaching out before he caught himself. He pulled back sharply, his voice low. "It's changing. All night no one slept." The guards took turns watching, swords ready, though no blade could fight what was inside. The ambassador sat in silence, staring at the box, remembering the advisor's words. That world no longer exists. And yet, even with fear in his chest, he felt something else, something stronger, curiosity. The emperor had given this to him, not to destroy him quickly, but to test him, maybe to tempt him. The box was not only dangerous, it was important. Perhaps it was the key to something greater. As dawn broke, the first rays of light touched the palace roofs. From outside came the sound of drums, the beginning of another day in the empire. But inside the chamber, the air was heavy, almost alive. The box pulsed one final time before going still, as if it knew the human was watching, as if it was waiting for him to make his choice. The ambassador whispered to himself, "Gift or curse, I must know." And deep inside the palace, unseen by human eyes, the emperor sat upon his throne, smiling again. He knew the whispers had already done their work. He knew the human would not resist the temptation forever. The game had only begun. The golden box had waited for 3 days. 3 long nights the human ambassador did not sleep. His guards whispered of curses, the servants avoided his chamber, and even the nobles of the palace kept their distance. Everyone knew what the emperor had given him, but no one dared to say it aloud. The air itself seemed heavier around the box, as if it bent the room with its strange power. On the fourth night, the ambassador could bear it no longer. The silence, the whispers, the glowing runes, it was too much. He gathered his closest guards and sealed the chamber. Heavy iron doors were locked, windows closed, spies kept away. Only a handful of humans remained inside, their weapons drawn, their faces pale. The ambassador stood before the box, his hands trembling though his eyes were steady. The glow was brighter now, the hum louder, like a living creature calling to him. "Sir," one guard said, his voice breaking. "This is madness. We don't know what's inside. It could kill us all." The ambassador did not look away from the box. "If we never open it, then it kills us slowly. Fear will do the Emperor's work for him. No. Tonight we end the guessing." He reached out, his fingers brushing the golden surface. The metal was warm, almost soft, like skin. The glowing runes shifted at his touch, rearranging into shapes he almost recognized, shapes that looked like human letters for the briefest second before dissolving again. The lid of the box moved with a sound like air rushing out of a deep cavern. The guards tensed, blades rising. A breath of cold air spilled into the room, carrying a scent that was not of this world. Sweet and sharp, like flowers blooming on ice. The ambassador lifted the lid fully. The chamber filled with gasps. Inside was not a weapon, not treasure, not a monster. It was a woman. She lay curled inside, her skin pale like pearl, her hair dark and flowing, her form delicate and perfect, like a statue carved from light. But her eyes opened slowly, glowing with a faint silver fire. She blinked once, then sat upright, moving with grace that was too smooth, too flawless to be natural. The guard stepped back in shock. One muttered a curse. Another crossed himself as if facing a ghost. The ambassador's heart pounded. "Who are you?" The woman's gaze found his, sharp yet soft, like she had been waiting for him alone, and then she spoke, her voice clear, calm, and in perfect English. "My master," she whispered, bowing her head. "I am yours." The chamber froze. Silence heavier than stone filled the air. The guards stared, unable to believe what they heard. A creature of the Empire speaking human tongue without flaw, without accent. Impossible. The ambassador swallowed hard, his mind racing. How do you know my language?" The woman smiled faintly, though her eyes did not. "I was made to know. Made for you." The guards shifted uneasily. One whispered, "This is no woman. This is a creation." The ambassador took a step closer, though every instinct told him to step back. The woman rose gracefully from the box, taller than expected, moving without sound as if her feet barely touched the ground. The golden box, now empty, sealed itself with a hiss and went dark, the glowing runes fading like dying embers. "You belong to me?" the ambassador asked carefully. She nodded. "I was given to you by the Emperor. But I do not serve him. I serve you." Those words struck harder than any blade. If the Emperor knew this, then this gift was more dangerous than ever imagined. Was this a trick, a spy? A weapon meant to twist his will? Or something else? One guard stepped forward, sword raised. "She is a trap. We should kill her before it's too late." The woman turned her head slightly, her silver eyes glowing brighter. The guard froze in place, his body stiff, his face pale. His sword trembled in his hand as if held by invisible chains. "I do not harm unless commanded," she said softly. "But I defend myself. And I will defend you." The ambassador raised his hand quickly. "Enough. Put your weapon down." The guard gasped, breaking free, and staggered back, sweat running down his face. The woman lowered her gaze again, calm as water. The ambassador studied her carefully. Her words, her power, her presence, it was all too much. But one truth was clear, this was no ordinary concubine. She was something far greater, something the Emperor wanted him to discover. He asked, his voice low, "What are you?" The woman's eyes shone brighter, and for the first time, her voice carried a weight that shook the chamber. "I am the Emperor's gift," she said. "But I am your weapon, your shield, your companion. I am the beginning of your test." The room fell into silence again. The guards exchanged nervous glances, but no one dared speak. The ambassador felt the truth pressing on him like a storm. His life had just changed. And so had Earth's. The Emperor had not given him a gift. The Emperor had given him a choice. And as the woman bowed before him once more, her silver eyes glowing in the dark, The ambassador realized something terrifying. Whatever she was, the court already knew. The whispers in the palace would not stop now. They would grow louder, sharper, deadlier. The box was open. The game had begun. The palace did not sleep. Even in the dark hours before dawn, torches burned. Footsteps echoed in long halls and whispers spread like shadows. The emperor's court was restless. They had seen the box given to the human. They had seen the human carry it away. But no one yet knew what had come out of it. Inside the ambassador's private chamber, the truth now stood in front of him. The woman from the box was not like anyone he had ever seen. She walked with grace, spoke with perfect English, and looked at him with silver eyes that seemed to see through his thoughts. The guards kept their distance. None of them trusted her. Some feared her. Yet none dared to raise their weapons again. They had seen her power when she froze the soldier with only a glance. That memory was enough to keep their hands shaking. The ambassador sat in his chair, his face lit by the soft glow of the woman's eyes. He studied her carefully, searching for answers. Finally he spoke. "You know who I am. You speak my language. You call me master. But why? Why me?" The woman tilted her head slightly as if amused by the question. Her voice was calm, smooth, and carried no hesitation. "Because I was made for you. I carry knowledge of Earth, of your people, your history, your wars, your hopes. I know things even you do not know. I was created to serve you." The words chilled the room. One guard muttered, "This is impossible. No alien should know Earth so deeply." The ambassador leaned forward. "If you know Earth, tell me something no one else could know." The woman's silver eyes flickered. "Your mother's last words to you before you left Earth," she said. "Do not bow too low, even before kings." The ambassador froze. His throat tightened, his breath caught. He had never told anyone those words. They were his memory alone. His guards looked at him in shock, realizing she spoke the truth. "How?" he whispered. "How could you know that?" The woman smiled faintly, though it was not a warm smile. It was a smile filled with hidden weight. "I was given the knowledge of you before I was born. The emperor wished me to understand my master. But he does not control me. I chose you." Those last words struck like lightning. The guards exchanged uneasy glances. The ambassador's mind raced. Chosen by her? Did that mean she was alive, truly alive, not just some puppet of the emperor? He stood slowly, circling her, studying her like a puzzle. "If you were made, then what are you really? A machine? A weapon?" The woman lowered her gaze. "I am more than flesh, more than metal. I am built with memory, with code, with life. I am a bridge between what is alive and what is created. I am both." One guard whispered, "A machine, concubine? This is madness." The woman's voice turned sharp, cold as steel. "Do not call me machine. I think, I feel. I choose." The ambassador raised his hand to calm the room. He looked into her glowing eyes again. "Then tell me your secret. Tell me why the emperor sent you to me." For the first time she hesitated. Her silver eyes dimmed slightly and her voice dropped low, almost like a confession. "I cannot reveal all. My purpose is not yet ready. But know this, I was sent to test you. The emperor believes you will fail. He believes humans are weak, too bound by fear, too small to carry great power. He thinks you will break under the weight of me." The ambassador's jaw tightened. Anger burned in his chest, though he tried to keep his voice steady. "And you? Do you think I will fail?" The woman looked at him long, silent moments. Then she said softly, "No. That is why I chose you." Her words hung heavy in the chamber. For the first time, the ambassador felt the walls pressing in on him. Not from fear of the emperor, but from the burden now placed on his shoulders. She was not just a gift. She was a challenge. The guards shifted uncomfortably. One finally spoke, his voice trembling. "Sir, we cannot trust her. She is too dangerous. The emperor gave her to destroy you." The ambassador turned sharply. "No, if the emperor wanted me dead, I would already be dead. This is something more. He wants to see what I will do. And I will not give him the satisfaction of seeing fear." The woman's silver eyes glowed brighter. She stepped closer, her voice soft but clear. "Good, you must never show fear. The court already watches. The nobles already whisper. They will move against you if you stumble, and when they do, I will protect you." The ambassador studied her once more. He saw no lie in her face, but he also saw no full truth. She was holding something back. Something deeper, something dangerous. But whatever it was tied to him now. That night, as the chamber grew quiet and the guards finally rested, The ambassador lay awake, his mind racing. The Emperor's gift was not only alive, it was aware, intelligent, powerful, and it carried secrets about Earth that no alien should ever know. He stared into the darkness, listening to the faint hum that still lingered in the box. The concubine slept silently nearby, her silver eyes closed, her breathing soft. But even in sleep he felt her presence pressing against his thoughts, like a shadow he could not escape. And he knew without doubt that her secret was only the beginning. The days that followed were filled with unease. The golden box was now empty, but the palace was not at peace. The woman who had stepped from it, the concubine with silver eyes, was no longer a secret. Whispers spread faster than fire, and every noble, every advisor, every servant spoke of the human and his strange companion. The human ambassador felt the change everywhere he walked. Where once he was met with cold silence, now eyes followed him with suspicion and envy. Some bowed lower than before, as if afraid of him. Others turned away quickly, their whispers sharp like knives behind his back. The concubine never left his side. She moved with quiet grace, always 2 steps behind, her presence calm yet powerful. She spoke little in public, but those who looked into her silver eyes often lowered their gaze, unsettled by what they saw there. It did not take long for her powers to show. One evening, as the ambassador prepared to meet with alien nobles, a crystal lamp above him cracked suddenly. Its sharp glass would have fallen onto him, but before it shattered, the concubine spoke one word. The lamp froze in the air, hanging as if caught by invisible hands. The guards gasped, their weapons half drawn, but the glass slowly lowered itself to the floor without harm. The ambassador turned to her, eyes wide. "You knew this would happen," she nodded calmly. "I see before it happens. Small things, accidents, dangers. My purpose is to keep you alive." The guards whispered to one another in fear. Some crossed themselves. Some looked at her with awe. But the ambassador only felt the weight of her words. She could see the future, or pieces of it. That was not a gift. That was a weapon. Soon the court began to take notice. Nobles watched with sharp eyes, their voices sharper. At private dinners they spoke of balance and order, warning the ambassador that gifts from the emperor were never truly free. One noble, drunk on wine, dared to speak openly. "She is not a gift," he hissed across the table. "She is a leash. Do not mistake the emperor's mercy for love." The ambassador met his stare. "Then why does she protect me instead of him?" The noble had no answer. He only bowed stiffly and left the chamber, his eyes burning with resentment. But it was not only nobles who grew restless. The emperor himself sent summons commanding the concubine to appear before the throne. She refused. The ambassador was shocked when she said it. "You cannot refuse him," he warned. "He is the ruler of this empire. His word is law." The concubine's silver eyes glowed brighter. "I was given to you. I obey you, not him. If I stand before him again, it will be by your command, not his." The guards gasped. No one in the palace spoke so boldly of the emperor. Yet she said it calmly, as if it were a simple truth. The ambassador's heart pounded. Her defiance would not go unnoticed. Already the emperor's spies filled the palace. Already the whispers grew louder. If she could resist the emperor, then she was no ordinary servant. She was a threat. That night the ambassador walked alone in the garden, the stars above shining cold and distant. He thought of Earth, of his people waiting for news. He thought of the emperor's smile, of the concubine's words, of the noble's warning. Was she truly his protector, or had the emperor planted her like a seed that would one day strangle him? The garden was silent, but he did not feel alone. He turned and found the concubine standing among the trees, her silver eyes glowing faintly in the dark. "You followed me," he said softly. She stepped closer. "You are watched by many eyes. I will not let you walk alone." The ambassador sighed. "Tell me the truth. Are you a gift, or are you a weapon?" She paused. For the first time, her calm voice cracked just slightly. "I am both. A gift to you, a weapon to others. That is why they fear me." The ambassador studied her face, searching for lies, but found none. Instead, he saw something else. Something like sorrow hidden deep behind her silver gaze. Before he could ask more, a shadow moved among the trees. A dagger flashed in the dark. The ambassador's guards were too far. But the concubine raised her hand. The dagger stopped midair, frozen inches from the ambassador's chest. The assassin choked, his body lifted off the ground by an invisible force. His eyes bulged, his legs kicked helplessly. "Release him," the ambassador shouted. The concubine lowered her hand and the assassin dropped to the ground, gasping. Guards rushed forward, seizing him. The ambassador turned sharply to her. "You would have killed him." Her silver eyes glowed brighter. "Yes, to keep you alive. That is my purpose." The ambassador's breath came fast. He looked down at the assassin, then back at her. He realized the truth in that moment. She was not only a shield, she was a sword. And a sword this sharp could cut either way. The next morning, the Emperor's summons came again, this time not as a request, but as a command. The Emperor wanted answers, and the ambassador knew, with growing dread, that the gift he had been given was more dangerous than any weapon of war. The Emperor's command could not be ignored. Messengers in crimson armor came at dawn, their footsteps loud in the silent corridors. They carried no weapons, yet their presence was heavy with threat. The order was simple. The human ambassador must bring the concubine before the throne. Refusal was no longer an option. The ambassador read the message twice, his hands tight around the scroll. His guards shifted uneasily, glancing at the concubine, who stood calmly as if nothing had happened. "He demands you," the ambassador said, his voice low. The concubine's silver eyes flickered. "He demands what he no longer owns." The guards gasped at her words, but the ambassador only sighed. "If we resist, we invite death. If we obey, we walk into a trap. Tell me, what am I to do?" The woman stepped closer, her voice soft yet sharp. "Trust me, but know this. If I reveal myself to him, there will be no going back. The game will end and the war will begin." The ambassador's chest tightened. He had suspected much, but hearing it spoken aloud was different. War, the one thing Earth feared most. He closed his eyes, breathed deep, and whispered, "Then tell me the truth. All of it. No more secrets." The concubine was silent for a long time. Then, with slow grace, she sat before him, folding her hands in her lap. Her silver eyes glowed faintly in the dim light. "I was not born," she began. "I was built. Long ago, before the Emperor's rise, there were stargates, bridges of light that connected entire galaxies. Worlds traded, traveled, and thrived. But when war came, the gates were sealed. Their keys were destroyed. Or so it was believed." She touched her chest lightly. "I am not flesh alone. I am one of those keys. A living key. My body carries the code, my blood carries the map, and my mind carries the command. I can open the sealed gates." The room went cold. The guards stared at her with wide eyes. The ambassador's breath caught in his throat. A living key, something more valuable than all the gold in the galaxy, more dangerous than any weapon. The ambassador whispered, "If this is true, then whoever controls you controls the stars," she finished for him. Her voice carried both pride and sorrow. "That is why the Emperor created me. He wants the gates. He wants the forgotten worlds. He wants the power to rule beyond even his empire, but I will not give him that power." The ambassador shook his head slowly. "And you choose me instead, why?" Her silver eyes fixed on him, steady and clear. "Because humans are still unbroken. You do not yet kneel to empires. You do not yet believe you are too small to stand. The Emperor underestimates you. I do not." The ambassador felt the weight of her words pressing into his soul, a living key, choosing him, choosing Earth. But what did that mean? Was it salvation or destruction? One guard stepped forward, his voice shaking. "Sir, forgive me, but this is too great. If she is what she says, then she must be destroyed. No single being should carry such power." The concubine turned her gaze on him. "You may kill me, soldier. But know this, when I die, the knowledge dies with me. The gates remain closed forever, and the Emperor will build another again and again until one obeys him. My death delays him. My life denies him." The guard fell silent, unable to answer. The ambassador stood, pacing the chamber. His heart pounded with every step. Earth was not ready for this. Humanity was still learning to crawl among the stars. And yet here he was, holding in his care the most valuable being in the galaxy. Finally, he turned to her. "If you are truly a key, then what do you want? Not the Emperor's wish, not my people's hopes, yours." For the first time, the woman's voice wavered. "I want freedom. I was built to serve, to be owned, to be used. But I choose differently. I want to decide who I am. And I believe humans can give me that chance." The ambassador met her gaze. And for a moment, he saw not a weapon, not a machine, not a concubine, but a person, bound by chains she had not chosen. Then came the sound of drums outside, heavy and deep, echoing through the palace walls. The summons was no longer a request. It was an order backed by force. The ambassador looked at his guards. "Prepare yourselves. We will face him, and whatever happens, we stand together." The concubine rose, her silver eyes brighter than ever. "Remember, he fears what he cannot control. That is why he gave me to you. He thought I would break you. Do not let him be right." The ambassador nodded, though his chest burned with dread. The truth was revealed. The gift was no longer a mystery. She was a key, and the emperor wanted to use her to rule the stars. The throne hall of the emperor was filled with silence so sharp it felt like a blade. Alien nobles sat in high balconies, their jeweled masks hiding faces twisted with greed, fear, and curiosity. Soldiers in black armor lined the walls, their weapons humming softly, waiting for the emperor's command. And at the center of it all, upon a throne carved from a single block of obsidian, sat the emperor himself. His pale hands rested on the armrests, his silver crown glimmered in the dim light, and his cold eyes burned with a quiet fire. The human ambassador walked into the hall with steady steps, though his heart thundered like war drums. His guards followed close, their faces pale but their swords ready. And beside him, moving like a shadow of light, walked the concubine. Her silver eyes glowed softly, her presence filling the hall with unease. Every eye in the court turned to her. The whispers rose, sharp and hungry, before the emperor raised one hand. Silence fell again. "Human." The emperor's voice rolled through the hall like thunder, deep and heavy. "You were given a gift, yet I hear whispers that the gift now refuses me, that it defies its maker. Tell me, do you believe you own what belongs to me?" The ambassador stopped at the base of the throne. His mouth was dry, but his voice was steady. "She does not belong to you. She belongs to herself." A gasp ran through the court. The words echoed, dangerous, bold. The emperor's eyes narrowed, and his cold smile appeared. "You misunderstand," he said softly. "She was created for me. She was made to open the gates of stars for my empire. And you, little human, are nothing but a messenger. You think she chooses you? No, she is mine. Return her to me, and I will let your fragile world live." The nobles leaned forward, waiting. The soldiers gripped their weapons tighter. The hall held its breath. The ambassador glanced at the concubine. Her silver eyes met his, steady, glowing brighter than ever. He turned back to the throne. "No," he said. The emperor's smile vanished. For the first time, his voice carried a sharp edge. "No?" The ambassador raised his voice, letting it carry across the chamber. "Humans may be small. We may be new to the stars, but we do not bow to chains. We do not kneel to those who believe themselves gods. You gave her to me as a gift, Emperor. Now hear this. Earth does not return gifts. We protect them." The court erupted in gasps and shouts. Some nobles laughed cruelly. Others hissed in anger. The emperor lifted his hand again, and silence cut them down. His eyes burned like fire. "Then you have chosen death," he said coldly. At his signal, the soldiers raised their weapons. The sound of power cores charging filled the hall. The human guards braced themselves, swords drawn, but they were hopelessly outnumbered. The concubine stepped forward. Her silver eyes blazed like twin stars. Her voice rang out clear, louder than the soldiers' hum, louder than the whispers. "No, it is you who has chosen fear." She raised her hands. The air cracked with energy. The soldiers' weapons froze, their barrels turning to molten slag as invisible force bent them into useless shapes. The nobles cried out, cowering in their balconies. The emperor's throne shook as the very walls of the palace trembled, and then, with a brilliance that blinded the hall, a stargate opened. It formed behind her like a great wound in space. A circle of light spinning with endless fire, a bridge to the forgotten galaxies. Winds rushed through the chamber, carrying the scent of distant worlds. The nobles screamed, some falling to their knees, others fleeing in terror. The emperor rose slowly from his throne, his pale face twisted with rage. "You dare open my gates without my command?" The concubine turned to him, her voice like steel. "They are not yours. They were never yours. They belong to no emperor. They belong to those who dare to walk them." She looked at the ambassador then, her silver gaze softer. "Come, this gate is for you." The ambassador hesitated only a moment. His guards looked to him, fear and hope in their eyes. He raised his voice once more, firm and unshaken. "Earth will not kneel," he declared. "We will walk the stars on our own terms, and no emperor will chain us." With those words, he stepped toward the light. His guards followed one by one, their fear swallowed by courage. The concubine moved beside him, her presence a shield, her power blazing. Together they walked into the gate. The emperor shouted, his voice shaking the hall. "You cannot escape me. The stars belong to me." But his words were lost in the roar of the gate, in the brilliance of light that swallowed the humans whole. And then, they were gone. The gate closed behind them with a final thunderclap, leaving the hall in silence. The emperor stood upon his throne, his hands trembling with rage, his eyes burning with fury. The nobles cowered, silent, afraid to speak. For the first time in centuries, the emperor had been defied. And somewhere beyond the reach of his empire, a human and a concubine walked together into the stars, carrying with them the future of Earth, and the promise that humanity would rise. Unbroken, unchained, unafraid, the galaxy would never be the same.